Hi, it's Yaz, and we're going to be answering questions that need some answers. So today's question is, why is intrinsic motivation so important? And put simply, it's important because things in your life can go very wrong very quickly without it. So what is intrinsic motivation, and how is it different than extrinsic motivation? So I think we should start with what is extrinsic motivation. Extrinsic motivation is when you are motivated to do things because you're trying to receive a reward or avoid pain. So when you're in school, traditional public schools, you have a marking period and then you have exams within that marking period and then you get a grade. If your parents enforce a rule that you will not be able to have a phone and you can't go out on Friday nights with your friends, that is a reason for you to do really well in school so that you avoid the punishment of not doing well. And so you're externally motivated to achieve a result because of your parents putting pressure on you to do the things that are good for you, but you don't really want to do it. You're doing it because you want to go out on Friday night with your friends. Intrinsic motivation is, using the same example, is when a student actually loves school and actually loves the process of learning and wants to perform well because they just inherently love what it means to do well in school. They love education, they love learning, they love the information, and maybe it's for a particular subject or maybe it's for all of the subjects, but they internally have a desire to do well in school because they love the information. And so when it comes to life outside of the public school system, you have to make decisions in your life. Most of them are to probably avoid being homeless because we all need to put a roof over our head and we need to eat food. And we also want thriving social lives. We want thriving relationships, friendships, marriages, being parents or being daughters, friends, work opportunities are also an incentive. You want to get promotion, you want to get the higher salary, you want to get the social recognition and authority that comes with the role that you have. And so you're externally motivated for a lot of the things that we do in life, but then it comes to the point when you kind of have a blank page in life. You have a blank page and you can decide what to do. No one's enforcing any rules upon you, and you have to make up your mind about what you want. And that's when intrinsic motivation comes into play. And maybe you've never been confronted with the question of what do you actually want, but it's a question worth asking yourself. What do you actually want? And that process of answering that question can be a very disorienting question because you wonder, have I done all the things that I've done in my life because I was told that I would avoid any and all kinds of pain with these kind of results, and I did this, right? I loved school. I actually loved school. I loved education. I loved the classroom. I loved discussions that are thought-provoking and intellectually stimulating. Not every subject was like that. Not every teacher was like that, but I tried to find the silver lining in everything. Then when I went to undergrad and I was studying chemical engineering, I was mainly studying it because my mother is an immigrant from Trinidad and Tobago, and my grandfather and their whole family and my mother and her sisters, they all came here to give me and my brother a better life. And so what kind of daughter would I be if I didn't actually apply myself in obtaining a degree that would actually be good for me in the end? So I decided to do chemical engineering with a minor in English because I didn't want to disappoint my mother. It would be good for me in terms of getting a job. I was extrinsically motivated. I didn't love chemical engineering. I didn't care about any of the factories and the oil refineries. I didn't find it interesting to be in a lab. I loved talking to people more. That's why I kind of fit in the English. That was like my little contribution for what I actually wanted. But I didn't want to do chemical engineering. I could do it. And that's the thing. Just because you can't do something doesn't mean that you're supposed to do something. But I understand the rationale I had for pursuing a degree in chemical engineering. But my senior year, my junior year, I decided I wasn't even going to entertain odd job opportunities in that field. I was going to do something different. And so then I went into consulting, and then that's an entirely different can of worms. But I was incentivized to aim for the promotion, to aim for the salaries, to aim for a higher authority role, I suppose, within specific projects. And that was fun. It was a wonderful time to understand what professional life was like, and the conversations that were had in these really large conglomerate companies in a variety of industries. I was just able to hop around and figure out what I actually wanted. That was what the purpose of consulting was. But then it got to a point where I just kept fighting against the system, right? Promotions become political, budgets impact salaries and potential raises and bonuses. And so you find yourself asking, why am I doing this again? And in the middle of that, life happens, friends, family, things people come and go, people pass to the next part of life, and it's just like so many questions, right? And so you kind of have this collection of experiences where you were constantly rewarded for doing well because you wanted to get the good grade because it would avoid any other punishments. But then I got to a point where I was like, okay, well, I get to decide what I want, but this is the first time that I ever get to think about what I want, and I don't know even how to think about it. And so I had to come to a decision about what I wanted, and I decided to get my MBA, which was just a perpetuation of achieving the next thing so I could prove that I was more capable with it than without it. But the point is, there's a lot of situations in life that promote external motivation or extrinsic motivation. There's a lot of rewards for the decisions that you make, but it doesn't mean that it's an internal alignment with what you actually want. And so I am on a process or on a journey of determining what is my personal intrinsic motivation. And I actually conducted research on this. Just, my little curious brain went to a variety of Wikipedia and Google searches, but there's actually a research article explaining that without intrinsic motivation, you're more likely to develop mental health issues such as schizophrenia, depression, and other neurological disorders. So when people, are depressed, probably because they feel like they have no purpose, because no one really showed them how to think about or how to discover what intrinsically motivates them to do things that other people can see. And so that kind of shed light on the importance of it. We do need to think about what we actually want, or else we're just shells of people living lives that we don't really want to live. And the ultimate goal of all of the questions that I ask is, what is the point of life, and how can we actually enjoy ourselves while we're here, be productive while we're here, and do wonderful things that benefit everybody while we're here? That is my ultimate goal. And so I just thought it was a wonderful question of what is and why is it so important. It's because it kind of it makes you come alive when you're doing the thing that you were born to do, your purpose, right? Everyone's looking for our purpose. I support people actually doing the work of figuring that out. So what does it look like to actually find your intrinsic motivation? What does it look like? Well, I think it comes in childhood. I think when we were children, we naturally did things and people either shut them down or supported them. And that requires a really attentive parenting and a lot of resources, or maybe just attentive parenting. You don't need a lot of resources because there are people who've come from nothing that did a lot of things and they just had really incredible parents, or they just had a lot of intrinsic motivation for the decisions that they made. But I made pillows when I was a child, and this is another question that I'll talk about, but like, how do you heal and restore parts of you that have withered or that have atrophied or that have been paralyzed? That is a part of this intrinsic motivation, but it's really, really important to do the work to figure out who you really are, what you really love, and how you can create a life surrounding that. So yeah, that's the question for today. I thought it was just really insightful. I just had no idea that sort of internal motivation without it could lead to mental health issues. And then, we have a lot of people on antidepressants and all of these other things manufacturing a solution without really getting to the root of it. The root of it is that we need to have more clarity about who we are and what we want to bring into the world. And so I hope we all find the time to to figure out what that is. Maybe it's an hour a day, maybe it's 15 minutes a day, maybe you love cooking, maybe you love pottery, maybe you love singing and you're not that good, so you want to sign up for some singing. I don't know, whatever it is, just do it. You know what I mean? I'm the supporter that if you don't have one, please go find something that you love to do that you did as a child and bring it back to life, because it's never too late. And I want us all to live more aligned and purposeful and lovely, joyful lives. So yeah, that's today's chat. Until next time, friends. Bye.